So you used to have a lawn.
Used to have a lawn. Uh, yeah, the grass that used to be there that I used to cultivate, I now rip out because it's a weed. Well, like many things, I got involved with dahlias unexpectedly. Turns out my first wife had grown them not very successfully, grown 2 or 3 plants, and I had the tubers kicking around after she passed away, and I just went out and planted them. They didn't work too well, not much success. But I did at that time discover something that is like a lot of my interests, which is propagation. And I was able to propagate from other people's dahlias that were in town. There were a few, not many, but a few around. And I started propagating them just because it's fun to do, to make a plant out of just a little shoot. And that led me into it.
But there was something that was extraordinary about his garden in that he didn't have it in the backyard like a well-groomed garden. He had it like on the main street, which I thought was really cool. And, you know, one day I just stopped there and I said, you know, I had to introduce myself because I was new in town living in '93. And I asked if I could photograph it and possibly use it for a card. And then I did all the Polaroids that I did around town. I put them into a book and I needed to get his permission for that. I came in the spring, so there was pretty much nothing there. And then all of a sudden, like these posts started to be put in, the sticks or the supports for these flowers. And all of a sudden, there were these extraordinary flowers. And then people started to like slow down on the road as the season got more involved. And I was doing a series of painted Polaroid cards that I could sell in the shops to support my painting. And I did one of his garden.
Yeah, the garden has drawn a huge amount of interest. My family and I have met lots and lots of interesting people from all walks of life, a cross-section of what comes to Provincetown.
So I got to know him, and he always had this like little table with vases on the front. I was just taken by it.
Well, you can see this. This is the payback I get for being crazy. This is only, right here is only one garden. You've got images from a couple of gardens, and I have, in terms of big and little, I've got now 7 gardens. And I have just around 600 plants. So you can imagine the weight alone is probably in excess of a ton of these tubers. Once the frost hits, as everyone in town knows who comes by and looks at this garden, one moment it looks like this, and when the frost hits, the next day it's all black, literally black.
Well, I first like the organic part of it, that it's very communal in that it's on the main street and that people, he shares the love of his garden, and Laura too, with the public. That's one thing. But I like the house, and I like the color of his shutters against the flowers, and the multi colors that were in the garden were just extraordinary. And you know, it's not that type of perfect garden. It's just so natural, and I think I was attracted to that. I wasn't interested in like a really perfect garden that's very, like I said, it's not that well groomed, but it's beautiful. And I myself feel that about myself, you know, just not this low maintenance, and it's like the garden's almost like Herring Cove. It just comes in and goes out, and it's just like it's there, and then it keeps building, and then the different heights, and it is wild. I think that's another attraction that I have to Stormy's garden.
I'm starting to cross them. I'm starting to actually take the pollen from here and move it to here. I'm careful about it, so I'm able to say, often with just leaving the bees to do the job, I'm able to say this is the mother, this one will produce the seeds, and the bees are working in this area, so most of these flowers are the pollen sources. All of these plants have tubers looking a little like sweet potatoes underneath them. All of these do.
It's really like an art project that they do. You know, taking them from the basement or the cellar or whatever, and then putting the stakes up and putting them in the ground, and then it's like a standard, constant thing that always happens in Provincetown every summer. And I like that.
You know, I do it because it's phenomenal, and I would do it if no one looked at it, really. But there's a huge payback when you have a garden that grows like this, and if you do your own crossing and propagation, it's even more fun. All winter long, I'm fooling with that.
I think that the combination of the flowers up against each other are different. Like I don't really know if it's organized in a certain kind of way. There's always a different combination. It's almost like, you know, you put your palette out, but when you're painting, there's certain colors that it's called a ping, certain colors against each other, and I always look for that in the garden.
You can just see here around me, the colors are completely different and cover almost the whole range. In addition to that, the shapes are completely different, cover almost all the ranges that flowers have. I'm only growing here the formals and informals and a couple of others. There are a whole variety of other forms that I grow actually in one of the other gardens. So lots of variety, which I think is very exciting.
And I love it against the house. There's something about that house that makes it like more pure or just more appealing. The people in town really, well, they respect Laura and Stormy for what they do. Like they clean the beach and they, you know, the coastal studies. But I think that they have a high regard for them of sharing their flowers.
To me, it's completely fascinating in the extreme. These are all known cultivars, famous show dahlias. But then I have all these that I grow from seeds, and what comes out is completely unexpected. There's virtually no rhyme or reason that I can determine as to what I get. And so I get these beautiful flowers that come out of a completely different flower, and that's kind of intriguing. Being a biologist, it gets a little extra intriguing.
It's a beautiful sight to see when you can go past that and then even stop and go take a flower.
I think this satisfies a part of me that I suppose a piece of me is interested in botany, but I think it if you get right down to it, it probably satisfies something that everyone has, which is an interest in something that produces something. It's a hell of a lot of fun.